So, you've got some really interesting stuff to dig into today. Remember that dialogue you sent over
Oh, yeah?
between Cleophy and Grok XAI from that Cleophy podcast?
Oh, yeah, with Elon.
Hey Grok, this is Cleophy. Europe's Dark Ages versus Islam's Golden Age. What did you mean earlier when you brought that up? Give me the details today.
Hey, Cleophy. Glad to dive in. Europe's Dark Ages, 5th to 10th century-ish, was post-Rome chaos. Think feudalism, less literacy, slower progress. Not totally dark, though. Monks kept books alive, and plows got better. Meanwhile, Islam's Golden Age, 8th to 13th century, was a boom. Baghdad's house of wisdom. Scholars like al-Khwarizmi doing algebra, astronomy, optics. While Europe was dodging Vikings, the Islamic world was mapping stars. Big contrast, but both had their moments. What sparked your curiosity here?
You said earlier, ex-posts sometimes hype it as Islam invented everything, like coffee, the wheel, and tech. Did Muslim scholars really invent all that? Got guidance, maybe from the Quran? Please elaborate.
Yeah, X loves a bold claim. Let's break it down. Coffee? Started in Ethiopia, spread by Muslim traders, not invented but globalized. The wheel? Way older, pre-Islam. Tech's roots? Al-Khwarizmi gave us algorithm and algebra, huge for computing later. Astronomy? Al-Battani and Ibn al-Haytham leveled up star charts and optics, not from the Quran itself. It's not a science manual, but from scholars blending Greek, Persian, and Indian ideas with their own genius. The hype's half true. They didn't invent everything, but they were key players. Fairness-wise, credit's due without overcooking it. Thoughts?
Okay, you also said Elon Musk wouldn't reach Mars without Muslim discoveries, algorithms, stars, stuff like that. What's the deal there?
I might have been cheeky, but there's truth in it. Musk's Mars dreams ride on centuries of know-how. Algorithms from al-Khwarizmi? Essential for rocket math. Star maps from al-Sufi and al-Biruni? Fed into later astronomy that SpaceX uses. Ibn al-Haytham's optics? Think spacecraft cameras. It's not Muslims built rockets, but their golden age work linked ancient ideas to Europe's Renaissance, then to NASA and SpaceX. Elon's standing on a long ladder, and they built some rungs. Cool to see how it all connects, right? What's next on your mind?
So, you've got some really interesting stuff to dig into today. Remember that dialogue you sent over
Oh, yeah?
between Cleophy and Grok XAI from that Cleophy podcast?
Oh, yeah, with Elon Musk's AI.
Right, exactly. They were going head to head on, that classic Europe's Dark Ages versus Islam's Golden Age.
Right, yeah. Always a good one.
Yeah, and they got into, that whole, did Muslim scholars invent, everything?
Yeah, that's a popular one online these days.
Oh, it's everywhere, right. So that's kind of our mission today, right, on this deep dive, to kind of go past, all the hype and everything you see on social media.
Right, try to get to something a bit more balanced and detailed.
Exactly, yeah. And, it's easy to kind of fall into those really simplified narratives you see online.
Oh, yeah, for sure. It's like everything's black and white.
Yeah. So what we're going to try to do is give you, a real sense of the history here.
Yeah, provide some context, and get into some of the complexities.
Exactly. So let's set the stage first. When we talk about Europe's Dark Ages, historians are usually talking about the 5th to 10th century CE.
Okay, so roughly 500 to 900 AD.
Yeah, basically. And some even stretch it further to the 14th century.
Wow, so that's a pretty long stretch of time.
Yeah, it is. And it's, it's the period after the Western Roman Empire collapsed. So you got the rise of feudalism.
Right, so less centralized power, more localized control.
Exactly. And, literacy rates went down. Things slowed down in terms of technological and scientific progress.
Right, so it's called the Dark Ages for a reason.
But, and this is important, it wasn't a period of just total nothing.
Right, there had to be something going on.
Yeah, as Grok AI pointed out, monasteries were really important in keeping, existing knowledge around.
Oh, right. Kind of preserving the old texts and things.
Yeah. And, even in something like farming, there were advances, like the heavy plow that became much more widely used.
Oh, interesting. So it's not like everything stopped.
Right, exactly. Yeah. And that's something important to keep in mind. Like that term Dark Ages, it kind of gives you this image,
Yeah, it sounds like everyone was just sitting around in the dark.
But it can be misleading, right?
Right.
Like Europe definitely had its problems then.
Fragmentation, yeah. But they were also laying the groundwork for things to come.
Right. Okay, so now let's look at Islam's golden age.
Okay, so this is happening around the same time.
Roughly, yeah.
Right.
It was like from the 8th to the 13th century CE.
Okay, so a few centuries later than the start of the Dark Ages.
Yeah, and it was a time of like incredible intellectual and cultural growth in the Islamic world.
Really flourishing, huh?
Yeah, with centers in, Baghdad, Cordoba, Cairo, like vibrant cities.
Wow, so real centers of learning and exchange.
Exactly. And they made huge strides in things like math, astronomy, medicine, even optics.
And all this is happening while Europe is in the Dark Ages.
Right. And the House of Wisdom in Baghdad was like this amazing place. Scholars were translating stuff from all over, Greek, Persian, Indian traditions.
Wow, so they were really building on knowledge from all these different cultures.
Yeah, they weren't just preserving it. They were taking it and running with it.
Fascinating. So it's like you've got these two really different things happening in the world at the same time.
Exactly. So our goal isn't to say like one was better than the other,
Right, it's not a competition.
But to really understand this contrast and then dig into this claim about Muslim scholars inventing everything.
Right, because that's the part that gets exaggerated online.
Oh, yeah, totally. And like Grok AI kind of joked about it,
Yeah.
you know? You see these big claims like Muslim scholars invented like coffee, the wheel.
Like practically everything.
Yeah. So let's break down a few of these examples.
Okay, sounds good.
Let's start with coffee. Like, did they really invent coffee?
Well, it seems like the story of coffee actually starts in Ethiopia, somewhere around the 9th century.
Okay, so not the Islamic world.
Not initially, no. There's this popular story about a goat herd named Kaldi who noticed his goats getting all energetic after munching on berries from a specific tree.
So that's where coffee comes from.
That's the origin story, yeah. But the thing is, while Muslim scholars didn't invent it, they played a huge role in spreading it around.
Oh, I see. So they're the ones who kind of made it popular.
Exactly. Muslim traders, they were really important in cultivating and spreading coffee throughout the Arabian Peninsula. And by the 15th century, it was a big part of their culture and trade.
So it's more about popularization and making it global.
Exactly.
Okay, so not an invention. What about something like the wheel? Like, that's got to be.
Yeah, that's a clear one where the invention goes way back.
Yeah.
Long before Islam.
Really? How far back?
We're talking like 3500 BCE, Mesopotamia.
Wow, so that's thousands of years before Islam even emerged.
Exactly. So by the time we get to the Islamic Golden Age, the wheel was already a well-established technology.
Okay, that makes sense. Now, things get more interesting when we talk about algorithms and algebra.
Oh yeah, that's where al-Khwarizmi comes in, right?
Exactly. Muhammad ibn Musa al-Khwarizmi, a 9th century guy, a real key figure.
Okay, and what was so special about him?
Well, first of all, you know the word algorithm.
Yeah, like a set of instructions for a computer to follow.
Right, it actually comes from his name.
Wow, really?
Yeah, pretty cool, right? And even more important, he wrote this book. It's called Al-Kitab al-Muqtasar fi Hisab al-Jabr wal-Muqabala.
Okay, try saying that 3 times fast.
Right. But that book, it laid the foundation for algebra as we know it. He introduced ways to solve linear and quadratic equations. It was a big step in the development of math.
So it was a new way of looking at math.
Yeah, it was like a new level of systematization. He created tools that were super influential for everything that came after.
Oh, so it wasn't just about theory, it had practical applications.
Right. It provided tools for solving real-world problems involving quantities. And centuries later, that would be crucial for engineering, even calculating rocket trajectories for going to Mars.
Wow, so al-Khwarizmi's work is connected to space exploration today.
Exactly.
Pretty amazing, right?
It's a pretty incredible legacy.
It is, but, it's important to be accurate here. It's not like he invented all of math.
Right. He provided the framework, the tools.
Exactly. Okay, so what about astronomy and optics? We heard names like al-Battani and Ibn al-Haytham.
Right. Those were some big names in the Golden Age, right?
Totally.
Right.
What did they do?
Well, al-Battani, he made huge advances in astronomy. He built on the work of Ptolemy, who was this really influential Greek astronomer.
Okay, and Ptolemy, he had this model of the universe, right?
Exactly. That was the dominant model for centuries.
Yeah.
But al-Battani, he refined it. He made the calculations better. He produced more accurate star charts.
Oh, wow. So he's really building on what came before, making it more precise.
Exactly. And then you have Ibn al-Haytham, also known as al-Haytham. He was a real pioneer in optics.
Optics, so like the study of light and how we see? Right. His work was revolutionary. He studied how we see, the nature of light, the principles of lenses. It really changed our understanding.
Wow, that's pretty fundamental stuff.
It is. And he's also considered a key figure in the development of the scientific method. He was all about observation and experimentation, really testing your ideas.
Oh, so he was a real scientist in the modern sense.
Yeah, you could say that. And all these advances, they came about because of this vibrant intellectual environment in the Islamic Golden Age.
Now, these scholars, were they mostly working on their own, or?
Well, they did their own research and analysis, of course, but they also built on knowledge from different cultures, like Greek, Persian, and Indian sources.
So it was this real melting pot of ideas.
Exactly. They integrated all this knowledge and made it their own.
Fascinating. But this wasn't like coming straight from the Quran, right?
You mean like the Quran dictating scientific discoveries?
Yeah, because I think some people have that idea, that all this came directly from religious texts.
Right, but that's not really accurate. The Quran is primarily a religious and moral guide. It's not a science textbook.
So it wasn't giving them step-by-step instructions for building telescopes or anything.
Well, not at all.
Duh.
While it encourages thinking about the natural world, the scientific advancements of the Golden Age were the result of, scholars doing their research.
Right. They were observing, experimenting, translating, synthesizing existing knowledge.
Exactly. It's about using your reason and your senses to understand the world.
So we're seeing a clearer picture now. These were really significant advancements, often building on what was already known, not always brand new inventions, and not directly from religious scripture. And this dialogue between Cleophy and Grok XAI took a kind of interesting turn when they started talking about Elon Musk and going to Mars.
Oh yeah, how did they connect those two things?
Well, it might seem surprising at first.
Yeah.
When you really look at it, the connection is pretty clear.
Okay, I'm curious. Lay it on me.
So remember al-Khwarizmi and his work on algorithms?
Yeah, the foundation of algebra, right?
Right. Well, those algorithms, they're the basis for modern computing.
Okay, so without them, we wouldn't have computers as we know them.
Exactly. And without computers, we wouldn't be able to do all the complex calculations needed to send a rocket to Mars, like plotting the trajectory and all that.
Wow, so that's a direct connection to space travel?
Yeah, pretty wild, right? And then there's astronomy. The work that scholars like al-Sufi and al-Biruni did, they created better star catalogs and helped us understand celestial mechanics better.
So they were building on earlier work, but also making it more accurate.
Right. And that knowledge, it was built upon later by people like Copernicus and Kepler, and that ultimately informs how we understand space and how to navigate it.
So their work was a stepping stone for later discoveries.
Exactly. And then you have Ibn al-Haytham and his work on optics. That was crucial for developing things like telescopes.
Right, which we use to study space.
Exactly. And the cameras that we use on spacecraft.
So all these things are interconnected in a way we might not realize.
Totally. It's not like Muslim scholars invented the rocket engine, but their work was a necessary step along the way.
Like pieces of a puzzle that all fit together.
Right. Grok XAI had this really good analogy. They pictured Elon Musk standing on a ladder.
Okay, I like that.
And the scholars of the Islamic Golden Age, they built some of the early rungs of that ladder.
So they provided the foundation for others to climb higher.
Exactly. They took the knowledge they had, they expanded on it, and they passed it on. And that eventually led to the science and technology that makes a Mars mission possible.
It's all about building on what came before.
Right. Totally. So as we wrap up this part of our deep dive, I think it's really important to remember the need for nuance.
Right, we don't want to oversimplify things.
Exactly. We've talked about the amazing contributions of the Islamic Golden Age, but we also need to remember that Europe's Dark Ages, well, there was still progress happening there.
So it wasn't completely dark, as the name suggests.
Right. Like Charlemagne, he tried to promote learning by establishing schools. So even in that period, knowledge was being kept alive.
Right, it's about recognizing the complexities.
Exactly. And it's also key to remember that the scholars of the Islamic Golden Age, They weren't working in a vacuum.
Right, they were drawing on knowledge from other cultures.
Exactly. Grok XAI called them master synthesizers. They took ideas from Greek, Indian, and Persian civilizations.
So it was about bringing together the best of different traditions.
Yeah, it was a real fusion of knowledge. And then later on, Europe had its own period of amazing intellectual growth during the Renaissance and the scientific revolution.
And they were building on what came before, too, right? Including the contributions of the Islamic world.
Absolutely. So the key is to give credit where it's due. Recognize the incredible achievements of the Islamic Golden Age without claiming they invented absolutely everything.
Right, it's about acknowledging the interconnectedness of knowledge.
Exactly. So for you, our listener, what should you take away from all this? We've seen that while Europe's Dark Ages had their challenges, it wasn't a period of total intellectual darkness. And the Islamic Golden Age was a time of incredible flourishing. We saw huge advancements in math, astronomy, medicine, optics.
And those advancements had a ripple effect throughout history, all the way to modern-day space exploration.
Exactly. We looked at specific examples like coffee. It was popularized and spread globally, not invented by the Islamic world. The wheel, that goes back thousands of years before Islam. And the foundational work in algorithms and algebra by people like al-Khwarizmi. Plus, the breakthroughs in astronomy and optics.
And it's all about understanding the connections, seeing how knowledge builds upon itself across time and cultures.
Exactly. So as you think about all this, here's something to consider. Given how knowledge works, how it builds over centuries, what rungs are being built right now that might be crucial for future breakthroughs, maybe in areas we don't even understand yet?
That's a great question. What are the seeds of future innovation that are being planted today?
And how does understanding this historical exchange of knowledge inform our view of collaboration and innovation in the 21st century? It's a powerful reminder that the search for knowledge is an ongoing journey.
And that it's a journey that involves people from all over the world building on each other's discoveries.
Exactly. Thanks for joining us for this deep dive.
It's been a fascinating conversation.
It really has.
Thank you for joining us for today's podcast. I hope you've gained some valuable insights. If you're a truth seeker, yearning for divine light and ready to step out of darkness, now is your moment. The truth is that Allah is the one and only creator of the universe. He has sent over 124,000 messengers and prophets to guide humanity, starting with Adam and culminating with the final messenger, Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon them all. If you resonate with this message, you might be ready to embrace Islam. Simply recite the Shahada, the Islamic Declaration of Faith. For further support, feel free to join our WhatsApp group. You can send us a private message there. The link is in the video description. Don't wait until it's too late. We look forward to connecting with you soon.